understand that with your perspective. And viewers, let's move on now to news from the United Kingdom, particularly after the budget was announced. Now, Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves has defended herself amid accusations of misleading voters with her latest budget. In an interview, Reeves pointed to the manifesto commitments on income tax, national insurance and VAT rates, saying she has stuck to those in both her budgets. She has also said that she was clear before this year's budget that everyone would be asked to make a contribution to protect funding for public services. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has said that he will give his full backing to Chancellor Rachel Reeves' budget, pledging the government will go further and faster with pro-growth policies. Starmer is expected to highlight Reeves' measures as a way to alleviate cost of living pressures, lower inflation and stabilize the economy, despite some critics questioning the transparency of the public finances ahead of the budget. The Conservatives have accused Reeves of being overly pessimistic about the UK's economic outlook, claiming she misled the public to justify future tax hikes. The Prime Minister's office has also defended the Chancellor, dismissing accusations of misleading the voters. Sham Batra, British politician from London, joins us live here at NewsX World. Thank you, Mr. Batra, for joining us.
Hello.
A very warm welcome to you here. Sham, how do you see the developments that we're talking about? Of course, Starmer was to back Reeves' budget, but how is he going to counter the accusations and the discontentment that's being voiced by the public?
Well, I mean, thank you for having me again. The row is going on about Reeves' situation, about the scale of fiscal black hole. First of all, they kept complaining that there was a £22 billion black hole, which was misleading the public because there was no black hole ever created. It was just a reason for them to discourage the Conservatives to show that how bad they were in bad light. But actually looking at the official data from the Office of Budget Responsibility, it shows that in mid-October, the projected deficit had erased. In fact, there was surplus of about £4.2 million. Yet Reeves has previously painted a far worse picture for the public finances. She has now scaled up 26 billion in tax rises. Now, going to the north of England, etc., and coming our way back to London, people are very frustrated. We are the only country in the world, I think, right now, that actually has food banks, and we're supposed to be the 5th largest economy in the world. It makes no sense. It doesn't look like we are anywhere near the 5th largest economy in the world, having sold our skyline to the Qataris. And not only that, Starmer is now backing the budget, which I totally disagree. I was actually at Parliament watching her stance on all of this stuff. I mean, she's put a 50% increase on minimum wage. We have the lowest minimum wage in the world. How in the God's earth are people going to survive? London is a very expensive place. It is not something that one can come in. I mean, you know, dinners are around maybe 80, 90 pounds per person. But Downing Street has dismissed accusations that Reeves has deliberately misled the voters and marks. Of course they would. Because why would you lie to the public and say that there is a £22 billion black hole? It's far, far worse. They have created a bigger black hole by paying Ukraine billions of pounds without us even knowing, and 600 million this year, writing a check to Zelensky, who has just squandered the money. So that money could be used in our country to help our people, our farmers come out on the street. You know, they don't have a say about this inheritance tax. But what she has done in the budget, I thought she would have at least used her common sense and put the minimum wage up, gave people some kind of stability. We are heading for a crash. We are not going to succeed with all of this. We've had 0.1% GDP since they entered government. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they don't have they don't have the brains to do this. I mean, opposition figures have called for regulatory investigations, suggesting that the misleading pre-budget statement might constitute market abuse. And the fact that Rachel Reeves has clearly done this, she has defrauded the public. And to be honest with you, the breakdown of the budget measures themselves, this is going to unfold over time. We can clearly say that. All the newspapers are saying that some are saying that she did not lie to the public. Reuters, for example, The Independent says Reeves accused of misleading public on budget black hole.
There are in fact also reports that the chairman of the OBR had warned, told the chancellor that public finances were in rather better shape, but accusations are that she held a rather pessimistic view. No,
they're definitely. We are heading for a recession, the worst recession in history, I can call it. Our property prices have depleted. Properties have fallen significantly, yet London is supposed to be a pinnacle property hole. But the problem is that the black hole that they kept complaining about was a lie. It wasn't truth. There was no evidence given that there was an actual £22 billion black hole. If there was, how could they write a check to Zelensky for £600 million this summer? You know, and he's just taken that money and squandered it anyway. So he doesn't care about the war. He cares about the money. And it's taken money out of our pocket. Now, that money could have taken people off the streets of London, could have helped businesses. I would have thought she would have said on VAT, we're going to give you a 6 months freeze. Let's get the economy moving. To start the car, you need to turn the key. And she's not turning any keys. She's done absolutely nothing to favor us, to give our children, but telling the public, we're giving free school meals and this. That doesn't help. What helps is that people want money in their pocket. You know, the tax could have been frozen for 6 months or something, just to get the economy back moving. Because let's face it, this country, like every country's, we rely on the public to make the money for us. And that is how government works. Now, by taking more money out of their pockets, is going to just end up bankrupting our country. Not even like Khan bankrupts the city. We will end up bankrupting our country, and that's wrong.
All right, Mr. Batra, thank you for sharing your opinion, but do stay on. Viewers, the UK government is also preparing to propose a major overhaul of its criminal justice system next week in a bid to tackle the growing backlog of nearly 80,000 cases. Justice Secretary David Lammy plans to introduce reforms that aim to speed up the legal process and prioritize victims. The Labour government has warned that without action, the number of cases waiting to be heard could rise to 100,000 by 2028. Now, some court hearings are scheduled as far ahead as 2030, with more than a quarter of cases delayed by a year or longer. The proposed reforms include creating a new division for mid-level offences and limiting jury trials for minor cases. The legal groups have raised concerns about restricting jury trials, which they argue is a fundamental right. I want to welcome back Shyam Batra into the discussion here. Shyam, what has taken these reforms so long to be implemented? Weren't they long due?
You're absolutely correct in what you say. There's more than 80,000 cases, I believe. This is the number that they've categorized, but it's far more. And you're also correct that court cases are now heading to at least 2030. And I disagree with the fact that the justice system wants to remove juries and only use them for very important cases like murders and rapes and stuff, things that are far more serious than the offences that are created in England. But the thing is that a jury is a human right for every country, every person in the world as well, that it is nice to go and sit at a jury and actually listen to what has really happened. And instead of a judge making the decision, which judges always make, the decisions, as you know. But in Crown Court cases and criminal cases, they are abandoning this. They are now saying that we no longer need the juries to try to do a right by trial. But it's only for really high cases like manslaughter, murder, rape. But I think the system, the other problem you also find here is that our criminal and justice system is very underhauled, is undermanaged, and there isn't many people involved in it as well. There isn't many judges either. They're backlogged and overhauled. Judges can end up making the wrong decisions on their own. But sometimes it's very important that a jury can have an independent, unbiased view and can actually make the hearings go well. And if there was more juries and less of the judges interfering with the process, we would have a far quicker justice system. But the problem is there's a lack of barristers, there's a lack of judges. And also one thing I want to point out to you is that the criminal system, most of the time people get what you call legal aid here. So a lot of the criminal barristers don't want to work for it because they don't make any money. The government pays very poor pay for them. So, and that includes some of the judges. They could end up on private cases getting far more, like £10,000 a day, even as much as that. But we have a completely lack of system. I would have thought that the government would have improved the system by bringing in more people, putting up the pay salaries of the main judges, etc., and the barristers who do this work, because majority of them are doing it almost like a human rights situation where they're not getting so much money, but they're believing in the case whether the person's guilty or not, whatever.
But so, what is the government going to do, or what do you expect it to do to address the issue of the lack of barristers?
Well, it goes back to the same old story, doesn't it? We don't have many people coming into the practicing system, but the criminal barristers, as far as I know, are far and few between. A lot of them don't want to do these cases that are given by the government, especially on legal aid. They pay very, very poor income. And the problem is that because crime is rising so quickly, we, like in our country, nearly every day, we've got something going on, fierce. There's more going on than you can actually see on social media and the news that is reported. So when people are getting arrested, they're going into prison, they're on bail, there's a duty solicitor that acts for them on the first perimeter basis. And then if the case is quite severe, etc., they go out on bail. They don't have any money. They have to then get legal aid. Legal aid takes 3 to 4 months before you even get that going. And then it's done on income basis. If you earn a certain amount of income, you don't get legal aid. You have to then go and defend yourself with a barrister who then will charge you more money. But the thing is that what critics and legal professions warn, and where the controversy lies, is that legal groups, including the Law Society and Criminal Bar Association, argue that removing or restricting jury trials undermines the fundamental right, as I said, and lays waste to an iconic element. If there was a jury system in place, things would move rather quicker. But we are in a really poor position because we don't have the money, yet the government has the money, but they don't want to give the barristers, the assistants, to get these cases in and out quickly. And these barristers, and a lot of barristers will come on board. It's almost like the National Health Service. The doctors earn more money privately, but they get seconded into the National Health Service because they pay lower money, but there's consistent business. You know, so it's what it means and what to watch next is that I think we want to see that for victims, potentially much faster access to justice and short waiting times, fewer adjournments, which could make a real difference to the currently, which faces in the years of uncertainty. 2030 is far, far away. I mean, you know, I know of some people who have a court case going back to 2017, and now the case was adjourned, and now it's going to go back for another 2 years. So you're looking at 10 years for getting just criminal cases in that are not severe. You know, we need to get rid of the ones that are not worth it, waste of time, where somebody has taken some money from somewhere and they told them that they're criminal, etc. These sort of cases need to be squashed and gone. How are people going to just go in and sit in a prison cell for the next 10 years? This is ridiculous. Our prison service is another story. We're full up, completely full up.
Well, that's for another discussion. But for now, thank you for joining us, and it's interesting to have you.